Thank you very much to everybody for joining us this morning. We are very happy to organize this and to have you in our short event. My name is Carmen Arroyo. I'm the Executive Director of eucen, and we would like to talk to you about entrepreneurs, but also about validation of competences and how this knowledge that we all have can be recognized. So I'm going to be very brief, and I will tell you a little bit about what is eucen. So eucen is a European University Continuing Education Network. Our objective is basically to promote and to advance lifelong learning and to foster universities' influence in the development of lifelong learning, knowledge, and policies in Europe, especially. And you might actually wonder what is the connection between eucen and entrepreneurs. And let me go. So I've looked into the dictionary, actually, what it says about entrepreneurs. What is an entrepreneur? And in the dictionary, it says that it's someone who starts their own business, especially when this involves seeing a new opportunity. And that makes me think about what kind of person could this be. And I think that it involves innovation, creativity, vision, and a vision for opportunity. And all these things, for me, are drivers of change. So an entrepreneur probably is somebody who, without knowing it, maybe creates wealth, probably employment or jobs for others, and as a whole, a better society, contributes to having a better society. So how we can actually put together eucen, our objectives, lifelong learning, and entrepreneurs. And eucen has one objective, one of the priorities that we work on is employability. We are very interested in reboosting the economy in Europe and to giving chances to people and to preparing them for better employment and better salaries, and that would also reboost society anyway. And another thing that eucen is very, very much focused on and is been pushing for is placing students in the center of the education system. So placing the student in the center of this system makes us think of what are the strengths of these students, what do they know already, how can we actually fill in the gaps that they have not learned yet, and how can we actually build flexible pathways that allow these students to fill these gaps that I'm talking about. And then all these things cannot be actually, or displacing students in the center could actually not happen without a proper validation of skills and competences. This is key for this kind of approach. And I think that entrepreneurs, with all the knowledge they gain during their time of creation and time of maintenance of their own companies, definitely are ideal students who could actually go through processes like this, validation. You explain what you know, what you've learned, and then you fill in the gaps in academia somewhere. So that is the way I found these connections between eucen, entrepreneurs, our priorities, and the sort of characteristics and values that entrepreneurs have. And that's now we are participating in a project which is called ARPEL, and touches these two issues, entrepreneurs and validation. And we were happy to prepare this small seminar about these two topics. But what are we going to do today? And today we are going to first explore validation of or recognition of prior learning from the point of view of formal, non-formal, but also informal learning. And that is things that you learn in academia, in schools, at work, at home, when you do voluntary work in any circumstance. Then we will have a dialogue with an entrepreneur, an expert in validation, and we will welcome any questions or comments that the audience might have. So you will be welcome to put your hand up and talk. And then we will learn a little bit more about the route for entrepreneurs that ARPEL is suggesting in order to validate their knowledge. And if we have time, but I'm not sure, we will see, we'll have a very short workshop, or I don't know, we'll work together and we will try to discover skills, competences and experiences of entrepreneurs and see if we get an understanding between all of us. So without more delay, I would like to introduce our, the speaker, our presenter is Jean-Marie FILLOQUE, is a friend, a long-time friend and a colleague. He is an expert in many topics, but he's been working as external expert for the Ministry of Education in France. He is former Vice-Rector of Lifelong Learning in the University of Brest, former Director of Lifelong Learning also in the Center of Lifelong Learning also at the University of Brest. He was member of the steering committee of eucen. He was representing eucen in an experts group of the European Commission connected to vocational education and training, and also former president of the French network of University Lifelong Learning. An expert in validation, recognition of prior learning, dual studies, and also very knowledgeable about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship and so many other things. So I don't want to extend anymore. Better to give him the floor now, and I would like to welcome very warmly Jean-Marie. Please, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much, Carme, for this presentation. It's too much, I think, but I don't look like the photo you have on the presentation. Now I'm quite old. I'm retired from university and I continue as expert for the ministry and different quality agencies also. So thank you very much to give me the opportunity to speak about one of my main subject in my working life, which is development of a recognition of prior learning, as we say in France. I will start my presentation with where is my presentation? I think it's here. Yeah, it's okay for you? You see. Okay. So the title of my presentation is Validation of Non-Formal, Formal and Informal Learning. What is it? Why it's important? I will try to answer to this question, and during the roundtable we can go deeply in this subject. So my presentation comes from shared practices from university, also the French continuing education network at university, because we have been very closely involved in the development of this activity in last century, in the end of the last century. And I want to thank my old colleagues from former president of eucen, Michel Feutry and Martin Carrette, who helped me in this development, and also my colleague from the ministry, Jean-Louis Gouju. Some of you have met recently in other presentation. So what I want to do is to present the framework of validation of non-formal, informal learning in in general, and to make a quick focus on the process used in France, because we have developed this process from level 5 to level 8 of the European qualification framework. And we finish introducing a small discussion on why validation is important for different level of society, people, and companies, and also society more generally. So learning, it's important for us to more define what is learning, because in our country, even in Europe, we have not the same meaning for this word. I take the one from Peter Jarvis, which was a specialist of adult education, and he says in one of its presentations that learning is a combination of process throughout a lifetime, whereby the whole person, body and mind, have experiences, the content of which is then transformed cognitively, emotively, and practically, and integrated into the individual person's biography, resulting in a continual changing, more experience. So, who learn? It's something we all do, starting from young children, but in all your lives, there is no non-learner. It's a way we can say that it's a natural process. So in traditional way, we encourage learning formally by education, teaching classes, but we are sure, as expressed by Jarvis, that we learn also through what we call in France experience, but I think in English it's you understand the word, through when we do things and when we act for something. So when we teach or by education, we can ask the question. I'm teaching as I was also a professor, but are they learning? It's a real question. But when we work in a job, when we have a experience as volunteering or things like this, in our current life, we learn different things, not in the so formal way, and that's why we use today, encouraged by CDFOP point of view, the classification, some kind of taxonomy which introduce informal learning and non-formal learning, and the way we can recognize in a certain way these things. So experience can be good or bad, sure, but the great thing is that at all time we learn something. Even if it's bad. It's if the process of learning is natural process, I think what bring a diploma, certificate, or credits, we speak about this in recognition of learning process. All kinds of learning have outcomes. They are measurable through different way. Practical activity, exercise, report, observation, and current life, we have this thing. And the diploma isn't some kind of diploma, certificate, or credit. It's an official assessment, which guarantees that this outcomes are real. And I take the example of the French baccalaureate. It's not a good example because it's not really prove anything about the real competency skills of, but it's also an official document. So a diploma, certify past learning that have been evaluated, and this learning can be from education. So it's what we call more formal education, initial or continuing education is in the group of the formal education, but also of other types which have to be more defined. I will come back to this in the next. There are only difference in the way they are proven, because it's not so easy to explain and to prove that we have this skills obtained by formal or informal way. It's more easy for traditional way in classes with exam and things like this. And in my I think that it's not so sure that classical exam and things like this prove anything about real competencies and skills. They have to be put in practice, so to be sure that they really exist. But in non-formal, informal way, I think it could be more easy. But we have to convince people who deliver credits and diplomas and certificates like this that it's true. So what is formal and informal learning? It's a real lifelong learning process. In the formal education, we have the first diploma, and then we work, maybe we hope people can find a job and different job and are broken in different parts lifetime. And it's a non-formal experience that can be occurred during this activity, this professional activities. They do things and they can have recognition if they ask for this. Continuing education can take place. That depends of the regulation, that depends of the companies, that depends of the countries. But in most cases now, people have to grade their skills, and all during their life, even maybe in more. So sometimes it's because they become unemployed and they have to change and they have to learn new things. And this is what is a formal part of the education. And the informal education, informal learning more, we include social experience, all the activity of people, including volunteering, NGOs and things like this. People can manage things, can participate to different activity. Well, not it's not mandatory that they are close to their professional experience, not more than for the initial education. It could be completely different. And also, we can include in this informal part of learning what I've called self-learning, by reading, by participating to social networks, by using the web. You learn things. It's quite difficult to classify very specifically this part in informal. It could be a part of non-formal. It could be sometimes also formal, but it gives a guide to have to explain this. And we can introduce diploma at different level if people use a system of recognition. It's really an example for France, because we can have diploma from recognition of prior learning directly. But I think in most other countries, people can validate part of their activity and resume process of education or formal education by continuing education to have a complete new diploma. But it's a way to recognize this different kind of experience. And in some countries, we have regulation that include not only formal education, non-formal education, but also informal education in the process of recognition. So a diploma certified past learning, that I said before, and the assessment mechanism is different. But the diploma can be the same. In France, is the case. In other countries, it's not always the case, and the diploma could be different. And in France, we call that, if you know, validation of prior experience, or VAE, which is enable us to deliver the complete diploma directly. But in the process we have today, it's only a process which we can deliver part of of a diploma in the form of credits. So, the validation. It's not a good. So the validation of not formal and informal process, what it is to accept that we can learn everywhere and anytime outside of formal learning situation. This is the first step we have to accept. It's difficult for the teacher, for the academics, sure, but it's also sometimes difficult to accept by companies. It's difficult also to accept by people themselves. That we have to convince, and we try by this kind of presentation to explain that we learn everywhere and at any time. So this part defines the location where we learn and the way we learn. Oops, what happened? It's also to accept that this learning from experience can be equivalent to formal academic knowledge. If we deliver credits, and if the credits are ECTS, for example, they are academic credits, and people who deliver these credits have to accept this, that they are completely equivalent. And this is a part of evaluation. Evaluate the skills, competencies, new knowledge obtained by this experience, and to transform them in an equivalence of formal skills or formal competencies obtained by a traditional way. And I think this competencies acquired by experience, for me, it's more efficient and more usable than the initial way we have to do. And finally, to accept to deliver an official certification or credit or diploma. This is the official mark that we recognize as a society, in a certain way, recognize that this experience is equivalent. In some countries, there is national regulation or organized things. In other countries, it's only each organization or deliver the diploma who have to accept or not to organize validation of prior learning. In European countries, there are European regulation, but as they are not really mandatory, as we could say today, that in some of this country, the recognition of prior learning is not very developed. So it's an individual pathway connecting to personal storytelling, often unique to institutional processes and to certification. And I think this definition is very important. It's a personal storytelling. It's always an individual pathway. It's an individual story, and for each person is different, because the life of each person is different, because the jobs they have been included is different, because all the context of all individual is different. But it's a individual pathway, and we have to. It's difficult for evaluators. And at the end, if there is a jury or something like this, or deliver the credits, sometimes it's a real new job for academics and for evaluator to be able to make the equivalence between the formal qualification and this result of experience. So very quickly, the French system for higher education is based on national regulation. And as I say, in the end of the last century, we have the first real law or organized validation to access to university. And in some years after, new law organized the validation to deliver credits. It's very different. In the first one, we are we have to accept people who show experience, but they have no credit. They have to restart their studies. With the new law in 1992, we introduced the validation of credits. They can be, they can have exemption of some part of the curricula or the process of learning, and it's some. They obtain what I call a part of diploma, and in some way, what I've seen this project ARPEL, it's a way where you have choose to introduce ARPEL as a part of the qualification process. And the major law was introduced in the beginning of the 21st century and introduced the VAE. It's not an education law, it's a labor law coming from the Ministry of Labor, in common with education and with the other act of French Act, who introduced the possibility for all the French qualifications to obtain them by recognition of prior learning. And we have developed the process to recognize the experience for all diploma from level 5 to level 8. Even PhD can be obtained by this way, by experience. And this law say anybody having 1 year of professional, extra-professional experience. So in RPL, you have chose to take 4 years of experience in to be accepted in the process. So it could, that depends of the country. This 1 year experience is very short for me in my mind. At the beginning, it was 3 years of experience in the domain of the diploma asked for validation. And most of the people have 10 years of experience. Most of the candidates have so. What degree? All the diploma and qualification having a professional prospect and registered in the national list, which is a repository of French qualification. What experience? Any professional and personal experience for paid and unpaid activity, including experiences from activity in non-profit making association, trade unions, and also for acting for the community, to be elected in the town and things like this. But having a direct relationship with the content of the diploma, of the certification, maybe the skills required to obtain the diploma or the certification must be present in the experience of the candidate, sure. The candidate have to declare and produce a portfolio of evidence. So it's only declarative. So we know the proof. It's when you explain what we have done, what kind of knowledge, what kind of skills you have been obliged to mobilize for doing all the activity you describe. So you write them in some kind of portfolio, including all the documents you can collect with your different, some kind of proof of your different activities. And this is a very long process because candidates have to inspect in some way their life to find all these things, and sometimes they have forbidden sentences. They have to be helped to do that, and we have counselors and things like this to help. And who recognize this experience? It's an accreditation board, validators, as you say, which is set up at the university level and composed of academics, and it's mandatory to have professional, because we have to to compare the skills required. The professional knows the area of activities, and the professor knows also the more formal part of this. And it's a long discussion between people in this jury to decide at the end what can be validated, or what people have to learn to have the full diploma, because in France the objective is to have at the end the full diploma. And we pay attention to the gender where we have to have an equal number of men and women in all our jury. So it's a creation of what called a new road to get a diploma by the experience, which is completely equivalent to schooling, apprenticeship, or further education. It's for French, it's a new individual right, and which imposes itself to all institutions and all companies and things like that, recognize this way. And it's completely, we have a completely full law in France, but very few people use it. It's it's a pity. It's a pity because each year, for example, at the higher level, we have not more than 4,000 4,000 people who ask for this validation in France at the national level. It's a pity to have a so strong regulation, so easy to use. I think for me, I think it's easy to use to recognize practice. And I summarize the procedure for us. We have 6 steps: informing, counseling people, and then they are guided by counselors to write their portfolio. And when they write their portfolio, we have an admissibility procedure. It's a very formal thing, very simple. And they have to fill the portfolio with coaching. And we have to organize the accreditation board and organizing the interview. We always have a discussion between, it's not an exam, between the candidate and the accreditation board. It could be a very long discussion, and the discussion is go in depth in the skills and competency in the different activities the people have presented in their portfolio. It's only for the accreditation board to understand what have done the candidate, and to be sure that the skills and competencies are really what are the one who are writing in the document. And then we have a deliberation and decision of the jury. And in France, if the full diploma is not delivered, we have to also give the opportunity to the people and we have to explain the way they can take in the training to have the rest of the credit, and mandatory to have the full diploma. So academic at the end, at the beginning, and academic and professional at the end. So to finish, why I think validation, non-formal and formal learning is important. And I have used some of the where we share with in different group this reason, but we can consider that validation, non-formal and formal learning, it's important for education because it enable access and mobility. It could enable also exemption of some part of the courses, and can deliver by this way partial and or full diploma in some countries. So for education, I think validation is part of the education. And when people come back to studies, it's real economy for everybody to recognize these things. So the studies could be very shortened and sometimes there is no study at all because they obtain the complete diploma at the first time. It's important for the economy because it makes human capital visible. It's enabled to address a skill shortage. So at the end, it supports employment. And we have some companies who have used this kind of recognition of prior learning to as in their strategy, in the strategy of the company to help their employees to feel better in their job and to grow in these companies. It's also important for social inclusion because it enables access to for many disadvantaged people who have stopped their studies and go to work very early and who want to resume or come back or to be recognized maybe by the society as a skilled person with not initial education, but with some kind of life education. It's important for individual at the end because it's sure I have personal experience with many candidates. It's so important for self-esteem and confidence and also motivation, even if it's a long way to go from the beginning of the process to the end. It can take sometimes 1 year or more. That depends because it's more people, it's people involved in the real life, involved in their job, involved in their family life also. And as it takes time to analyze and to go inside in their life, working life, social life, and things like this. And for individuals also, it may give greater access to employment and promotion, and sometimes it's used for this. It's very important for people who have a long experience because if they have a long experience, sometimes I have seen people who have no diploma at all, and we have enabled them to obtain a master degree directly from their long experience. And this activity motivates self-reflection and at the end stimulate further learning. It's very good for lifelong learning, which is one of my main subject. And so I don't know if the time is over.
No, you still can say something because you have 3 minutes, but thank you very much.
So I think I have finished. I prefer to ask and answer a question, which are more or less on the same today. I hope I have convinced most of you that validation of non-formal, informal learning is important. And I hope I'm not afraid you, because it's a long process, it's a difficult process, but it's a so nice result. When we see the face of the people at the end, when they always obtain a good result, not always a full diploma, because sometimes it's not possible, but they have always something and they are officially recognized. And it's so important for these people that it's a real good activity. It's very pleasant for the actors of this thing. So thank you very much for listening to me. And I give the floor
to
you.
Jean-Marie, thank you very much. And maybe you can remove the presentation from the screen. And I don't know if there is anybody who would have questions for Jean-Marie. You can do them now. You can put them in a chat or just put your hand up and ask. or you can wait, because now my idea was to give the floor to Francesca Uras, because she is going to chair the round table with Jean-Marie. So Jean-Marie cannot go yet.
Huh?
And one other person that Francesca will introduce now. So Francesca, the floor is yours.
I see Nadia raised her hand, so I don't know whether Nadia.
Yes, I just have thank you for and sorry for being late. This topic of the prior learning recognition really interesting me, because we are looking to apply it in our University of Applied Science for the continuing education, because we think that prior learning recognition is the way to apply sustainability to continuing education, and this should be also the vision of continuing education, because in doing so we widen the access to people, and we also recognize the previous experience. My question is about the methods. If you could suggest as also easiest method that not take so long to recognize easily prior experience, not only learning, for people that want to attend shorter courses of continuing education, because maybe for a Master of Advanced Studies, it has a sense to go on with this deep and long journey of accreditation, but for shorter format, maybe something simple.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can answer for the duration of the process if you want. The main, there are two actors in this process. On one part, there is a candidate, and the other part, there is an institution who organize accreditation. What we have tried in my organization, it depends on the organization. We have developed a system very efficient and able to answer very quickly to the candidate. It could take less than one or 2 months for a diploma. It's not so long for this. But at the other end, there is a candidate. And what we have seen, we have put in this process in line since more than 25 years. And it's always the same problem. The candidate, it's very long for the candidates themselves. They want to go quickly, but it takes time to write and to find the enough time in their life to prepare the document. And after that, we have to deal with the document, the portfolio they have to write. It's not only to write, it's also to remember all they have done, to find a document about this, and to collect and to take time to reorganize the things so that the accreditation board can understand what they have done and can find the equivalence of skills and competencies. It's more because the candidate than the institution. And we provide counselors, we provide help, and in most of cases it's not enough. Most of the people have other activities, and they don't take enough time. So I have met some people who takes they close in their house for 1 month and they work hard on this so that at the end they have the result. But for most of the candidates, it's a plus. It's that's why it's long. It's not mandatory to be long. So
Maria, I was thinking while you were talking, sometimes it takes long, and I'm just wondering, the candidates, how do you know if something that you have done is relevant for the, because sometimes you do things that you take it for granted. I do this, is so easy, but it's not easy. It's a skill or it's a competence that you have developed. And how the candidates, do you brief them? Which things can be included in the portfolio?
yeah, sure. The counselor, it's the role of the counselors. And this is a new job, not a new job now, because in our organization, we have this kind of job since more than 20 years, but since it's we have to have connection now with internet. It's more easy, and people communicate with a social network and things like this. So they have also, they organize themselves to have help, but we provide counselors so that and we organize also regular meeting with the desk, the recognition desk, and the candidates, so that to help them. But sometimes they live very far from the place, for this place, and it's not always so easy. But I think internet have helped to do that. Yeah.
Okay, and I think that now, yes, I give the floor to Francesca, please, and you can start with the round table. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we already started a discussion, but I would like to introduce our other guest, Robert Frasch, another dear friend of ours, who joins us from Austria. So Robert, after 20 years as a company employee in different fields in logistics and education, Robert founded in 2011 Learning Power. .at with a goal to build up a knowledge network of training companies. Things are running much bigger than you could expect. So now is one of the leading experts around vocational education in Austria. And since 2014, he decided to run his business as a solopreneur with a dedicated network of partners for daily work. So he's still the owner and mastermind of Learning Power, but he's also editor-in-chief of some literature products for apprenticeship trainers, and is also a very popular keynote speaker for companies and business associations. So thanks very much, Robert, for joining us. And actually, my first question is for you, and I wanted to ask you, which have been, in your opinion, the skills and competencies that you have developed, let's say, out of necessity, through the challenges and experiences that you have faced as entrepreneurs in your very long experience.
Many thanks, Francesca, for your kind introduction. I think that the most needed skill and competence for an entrepreneur on the starting point is that you have to think in chances and not in obstacles. Because in the first months, or let me say years, you hear more about the obstacles about your business from everywhere. From your wife, from your mother, from your, I don't know. And you have to be, really confident in your own ideas, because normally your idea is maybe the first one somebody hears this idea, and you have to be confident that you are able to build a business which is not similar to an existing one. And I think you have to have a skill which I name, you have to be a little bit a child. You have to play a little bit. You have not to take it too serious, I think, because otherwise, you will get frustrated even in the first 1, 2, or 3 years, because if you don't want a kind of playing a game, the frustration maybe will kill your business before you come to real life, maybe.
Yes, I think you need to have a lot of resilience to be an entrepreneur. And I was wondering whether, Robert, how do you think validation of prior learning could support entrepreneurs in their journey? How do you think it can help them highlight their competencies and also maybe improve their business?
I think one of the major points is to convince authorities and like banks, like governments, whatever. And as I know from my experience, because I don't have any degree and nothing, I started with an apprenticeship in forwarding. So, and most of my life was learning by life. But still, I was member of the board of TNT Logistics in Europe. But of course, that's only a job title and there's not an official degree. And if you come to discussions with banks, if you start a business, then it will help definitely if you have a formal degree, what you have done before. Because if you have only these job titles, what is behind the job title? Okay, as a member, as a board member, okay, it's very clear what you have done, but maybe there are some entrepreneurs outside there which have not been in a board or something like that. So I think it's really important to clarify what somebody have done and learned in his former life.
Yes. Jean-Marie, would you like?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very important. What you explain is that it's an external view, the way people see you.
Yeah.
Because you have no degree, not degree at all, or not degree recognizing your real skills and competencies. And I think for many people, it's important also to be. I think you don't need this kind of thing, but it's important to strengthen their self-confidence in some way, so that you can go in front of all the bank or all the colleagues and things like this, to be being sure that they will recognize you. And it's important for the people themselves to be more involved. I think you are. Some people are naturally, or it's in their feeling. But for some people, it's more difficult to be sure than the skills and competencies they have occurred during their life, during their job. It's equivalent to the skills and competency people you have in front of you. And I think this is the other part. And this is what we try to explain also to candidate. When you enter this office, it's a process of recognition for yourself also, and also for the other people. And then on another way, it's also, I think, a way to make us some kind of take stock of your skills and competency, and to formalize what you need to learn more, if you need something more to be better in your new job. I think for entrepreneurs, there are so many skills and different competencies required to be efficient, that it's important to sometimes to stop and say, okay, what I can show, what I know, what are my real skills, and what I need to be more efficient in this or this area. Or we can, I think it's, I don't know if it's clear, but I think it's another thing to stop and to make the faire le point, as we say in France, and then to restart and to resume your journey, because it's a long journey to develop a company or something like this. Yeah,
I think it's even important for self-confidence, because if you start running a business, you sometimes feel that you don't know anything. You don't know much about financials or kind of bookkeeping and organization and whatever. And so if you have the chance with a process to get a formal degree, just to rethink what you have done in the past, maybe it's a major point for your self-confidence, because otherwise, if I rethink to the first 2 years, I think in the first 2 years I felt, okay, I cannot use anything because I don't know anything. Then you meet with other entrepreneurs which are 10 years in business. They tell you, oh, I do it like that, like that, like that, and you say to yourself, so okay, never heard about it. I don't know anything, so maybe it's not a good idea to run as an entrepreneur. And therefore, I think even for self-confidence, a degree will be very helpful, not even for outside circumstances.
Yes. So self-recognition, not only external recognition. I was wondering, do you think, and this is for both of you maybe, but maybe Robert, you want to start. Do you think there are some competencies and skills that entrepreneurs develop during their journey that could be maybe more easily validated? And I'm thinking both in terms of discipline-related skills, but also in terms of more transversal skills.
I think that's maybe the critical point. What can be validated in which way, no? Because there are a lot of competences which comes from daily work, not, and how do you measure them? No? For me, one major competence for an entrepreneur, or even for every working people, is your track record. If you're doing your work every day, if you do just an example, you simply can measure your track record in sales. Because if you have revenue, you must have a good track record in sales. But I see it in discussions with young entrepreneurs sometimes. Most of them, or some of them, think, you have to make a great marketing and you have to tell a great story, and then everything comes from outside, from the blue. If you tell them, most of the outcome of revenue comes from talking, make calls, and so ever. That maybe can be something you can measure. Are you able to, to show your track record, not even one day, but more for years, for example? But I thought in the preparation for today, where are the skills which you can validate very quickly and very easily? And I came to something which Jean-Marie, I think, talked before in his presentation. It takes a lot of time to think and to prepare documents which show what have you done in the past. And I think time is something an entrepreneur never have. Because if you are working 70 hours a week, you don't want to sit down on your weekend and prepare a document with 20 pages or more just to get a degree. No? And there in between there, we have to think about the practical way, I think, for...
Yes. What do you think, Jean-Marie, based on your experience as validator?
Sure, I understand very, what you say. For me, as a member of an accreditation board or a jury, the easiest thing to validate is more the technical part, what the technical activities. Also in business management, it's quite easy because people can explain what they have done, the kind of organizations they have managed and things like this. So in some, as you say, in finance, you know nothing, but so it's clear, or you are able to manage your financing, your account, or your thing like this, or not, or a little bit, or you use this kind of software to do that, or information system or things like this. And when people, it's just necessary to have excuse me, to have the name of the software, and people with very few questions, we know if people are able to use it or not. If they know that. The more difficult part of the validation is the personal entrepreneurship, personal skills for entrepreneurs, what you say, self-control, risk management, leadership, things like this. And it's very difficult to explain by writing. But this is why it's important to have the interview. And it's not take so long time to understand how people are when they manage even the discussion. And it's difficult to write, but it's not so difficult to understand how people are in different situations. And the last thing I want to say is that it's important that the evaluator know very well the area, the context of the candidate. And this is what I have learned from my experience. We need to have professionals who know very well the area of activities. For academics, it's important also, but it's important that we have professionals so that they can discuss together. And in many cases, at the end, it's a professional who are able to say, yes, he is really efficient in this skill, it's okay, or not. And and it could be a good way to manage things, but it's also difficult to find professionals to participate to our, because of the time. It takes time, but less than to write the portfolio.
Yes, sure. So I understand, Jean-Marie, that some of the skills and competencies can be, let's say, deducted from the interview, from the exchange that the validator has with the candidates. They don't need to be proved by all by documents and.
It's difficult to prove some comportamental things. It's more difficult, I think.
Sure.
But then you have to be careful who is the interviewer and what is the point of view of the interviewer. Because I tell you something from my experience. I had interviews with, maybe somebody of you will know this, Hermann Scherer from Germany. He's one of the biggest keynote speakers, whatever. And I talked to him, I think 5-6 years ago. And he tell me, okay, yes, you're good in your job and you're good in your kind of presentation and whatever, but you have to change your business idea because nobody will pay you anything for this idea. Today, he learned that even if you on your straight on your idea, where a big Hermann Scherer tell you you will never pay any, you will never get any money for it. You can have a 6 digits revenue per year, no?
Yeah, but what I want to, excuse me. What I want to know is not the nature of what you do. It's only the way you do.
The way you do, and that's the second part.
Okay, excuse me.
Opinion. The second part is if you are talking to people, let me say it, which are normally working with startups. you get a problem with an entrepreneur like me because I started my business if I was 44, I think, with a little child at home. Yeah, I was not very young, and I couldn't answer one question of everyone which I was talking. But what is your exit strategy? Because I always told them I don't have an exit strategy, but I don't want to have an exit. And normally the startup scene is thinking in exit, no? And in thinking in exit and in multiplying, no? So, and that was two major problems for me to talk to financial institutes or business angels, whatever, because they are thinking in terms of startups. No? Startups are young people. They want to work 100 days, 100 hours a week without getting anything because they don't need anything. A family father needs something. I cannot work for nothing. And therefore, I think we have to be careful if you are thinking about who is interviewing whom, in which stage, in which age, and whatever.
Sure.
So you need to choose very well your validator,
Yeah, sure,
if you can. Robert, I was wondering whether in your own trajectory as an entrepreneur, had you heard about validation of prior learning as a way for entrepreneurs to have their skills validated, or whether this was a relatively new idea for you, and whether you personally have ever thought about getting your experience accredited somehow, or decided to go back to study to have your experience proved?
So it was a completely new idea for me, as I heard from you with your invitation, and I never thought about it in the past. Yeah, maybe this discussion is coming 10 years too late for me, because maybe it would be helpful to think before I start about it, because that really that was a big challenge in real life by starting to get finance from everywhere. It's never too late. And yeah, it's never too late to start a business, Kari. But you have to be careful, I think, with your family and other things. And of course, yes, sometimes it was in the starting years, in the first 2 years, I think, really the self-confidence. So, okay, I have to learn a lot of things, where I came then later to the point, oh, I have done this. I have done a budget, as I was a member of a board. No? I can read a budget even. No? So I know what have to be done in sales. But if you're sitting in your own company, in your own office, and to be honest, in the first days, there is not running everything smooth. You come to a point where you ask yourself, are you sure that you know about a budget? Are you sure that you can run a business? Or was it only possible in a big company like a TNT logistics company, where are hundreds of people which are making the budgets, with which making bookkeeping, whatever. And I think therefore it would be great to think about it before the starting point, I think, because with 44 you have a lot of working experience. No? That's more than 20 years. No? But you have only your job descriptions from the past. No?
Sure. So I think we have mentioned time as one of the biggest problem that entrepreneurs have. I think many people have, but surely entrepreneurs have feel quite strongly. And I think this may be an issue discouraging entrepreneurs from undertaking validation procedure. But I was wondering whether you can see any other aspect, any other problem that could prevent entrepreneurs from addressing this path?
If I
Yes, sure, Jean-Marie.
speak about my experience, show the time we have speak a little bit from the time required to make all the process, and it depends of the people, and sometimes it could be quicker than for others. But another difficulty, it's also to organize and to sometimes to write, if you need to write a portfolio or something, to present a small document to present to the accreditation board. It's not so easy to write things. That depends on the domain of the candidate. So I have met some people who are not, for them it was so difficult to write 10 pages or things like this, describing what they have done and the main point, and to extract the main point. And sometimes they focus on so small small thing with absolutely no connected with the required skills and things like that. And that's why we have really developed counseling and people who can help and say, "Are you sure it's important?" And saying to that this thing I think is very important and you have to develop, and the other not. And it's difficult for people who are alone to do that. Then you need help. It could be a professional counselor, but it could be also the family or boyfriend, girlfriend, or other, what you want, but you need help of people reading what you say or listening to what you say and things. I think it's not important, or this could be more. And also to write, it's sometimes difficult. So that's why the interview, I think the discussion between people, it's also it's another part of the process. I think it's equivalent to the writing part of the process. I think that this is I find also people who are not able to speak to a jury. They are very good where they are alone in their job doing what they have to do. But if they have to speak with people in some formal way, it's difficult. So we have also sometimes proposed help to speak with the public or something like this. It's important for an entrepreneur, I think, to be able to explain what you want to say or what you want to do or what you want to. And this could be also a break for validation, because they have to explain to other people what they personally do and what they think. The domains they are good or not, or the skills they have or not. It's increased their self-confidence, but some people have no self-confidence. So we have to help them to do that. The good question could be, is it the role of the organization making accreditation to help people, or the providers or things? It's an open discussion that depends on the regulations, the countries, that depends on what you want to at the end.
Sure. Robert, would you like to add something?
I think there are 2 points in it. First of all, I think we have to change the mindset maybe at the starting point of entrepreneurs, if we are talking about formal accreditations, because if we are going to explain them what will help this degree for maybe to get better finance, whatever, better recommendation outside, then maybe they will understand why they should change their time to an accreditation process. Because normally you try to get customers, or make a product, whatever. And if you not have in your mind that a formal degree will help you to be faster in some circumstances, and in which one definitely that will help, then you never will think about the time to get a formal degree, no? Because yeah, you will calculate, I think, in your head, if I talk 2 hours to new customers, or if I talk 2 hours to an interviewer to get a formal degree, I take the one with the customers. And second point is, I think some entrepreneurs, or most entrepreneurs, are really able to talk about the product, but they never have learned to talk about herself. Because they are thinking, yeah, that the major point is to explain my product, my lead, whatever, but not to talk about herself. And I think if they learn to talk about himself, herself, whatever, that will help in general in their business.
Yes.
I never had any problems to talk about myself. But
why you're here. No, but I think then the validation process can be in itself a learning process for entrepreneurs as well.
Sure.
And so we see that time is not the only problem. A big problem is also the lack of awareness, the lack of knowledge about this possibility, this opportunity, and about the benefits that it can bring to.
Especially.
Yeah. So I don't know, what do you think it could be done in this area to improve the situation?
I think people have to know better what is this process we need and to promote. I think this kind of possibility for it's. I think it's important for the society. It's not enough to say that, because European Commission and have produced many documents saying it's important to validate and to recognize and to improve the self-confidence of people in their skills and competencies. And for but I met sometimes people who never heard about these possibilities. So I don't know how to do. We have to be more present on social network, to be more explaining what is this process and what the gain people could have. Only 4,000 people asking for your French university. This is completely crazy. That never increased since the beginning of the process 20 years ago. Sure, 20 years ago, multiplied by 4,000, many people, but I think we could do more for this.
I think, yeah, we need information in the, let me call it the startup scene, maybe, because there is a big scene all over Europe where the startup entrepreneurs are in it. I think even we have to talk maybe to business angels, because it's must be interesting for them that their startups run better, maybe. And I think maybe it's helpful that you have the possibility, if you're interested in a process to get a formal degree, to talk to others, which maybe have run the process or maybe had problems without an degree, whatever. So that you can learn from others, because I think maybe, yeah, that's the most common learning way for entrepreneurs, to talk to other entrepreneurs. No, what have you done? No, and what have you not done? And where do you think it would be better if you had done it before you start or at your start or whatever? So like building up a network of formal educated persons.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether the audience has any question for Jean-Marie and Robert. If you can also turn on your mic if you want, or you can post them in the chat. If not, I would like to thank Robert and Jean-Marie very much for their contributions and for this interesting dialogue. And I will give the floor to Julie, who will explain how the ARPEL project is trying to address this problem and is trying to help entrepreneurs to validate their skills and competencies. So, Julie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Francesca. I'm going to open my presentation. Okay, I hope you can see it well. So as you were saying, I'm going to present a project eucen is involved in, which is trying to offer an opportunity for entrepreneurs to get their prior experiences and learning recognized and accredited to validate a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship. So the project is called ARPEL, which stands for Accreditation and Recognition of Prior Experiences and Learning. The project is co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. It started in September 2020 for a duration of 3 years, and it is coordinated by Advenio e-Academy, which is a higher education institution in Malta specialized in e-learning. In total, the project has 7 partners, among which 4 universities: the University of Ioannina in Greece, the University of Bari in Italy, the University of Vilnius in Lithuania, and the University of Cilina in Slovakia. It also has a more technical partner from Malta and eucen as a European network and an expert. But what are we trying to do more concretely with this project? What are our main objectives? As I was mentioning, the project seeks to develop a program encouraging entrepreneurs to accredit and recognize their prior experiences and learning as part of a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship. That's to say that the project is developing a bachelor's program, which is integrating an element, a framework for the recognition of prior learning, together with coursework, course modules, and a research project. So this is a way to highlight the fact, as we were mentioning earlier, that entrepreneurs acquire many skills and competencies throughout their careers. And it's a way, of course, to highlight those skills and competencies. And we also want to encourage entrepreneurs to pursue higher education further, because validating a bachelor's degree can provide them the opportunity to study even further in different areas and that kind of things. Now, how are we working to achieve these objectives? So in the initial phase of the project, we carried out a research study to identify current practices in recognition of prior learning and validation of non-formal and informal learning in partner countries, but also in Europe more generally, with the objective to inform the development of the ARPEL bachelor's program, and especially the recognition of prior learning framework. We identify practices in 26 higher education institutions all over Europe. And in parallel, we also analyzed the legal and regulatory framework regarding recognition of prior learning in those countries and in Europe. And we also carried out a second research study, this way focusing a lot more on the skills and competencies of entrepreneurs. To do so, we distributed an online survey to entrepreneurs all over the world to collect their feedback about the most necessary skills or the skills that they develop throughout their career. We collected responses from over 150 entrepreneurs in 11 countries. And based on the results from these 2 research studies, the RPEL project team started the development of the RPEL program. So first of all, the development of the recognition of prior learning framework, and then the development and the elaboration of the course modules, which were developed by the partner universities. Once the bachelor's program was developed, it was submitted to the Malta Further and Higher Education Authority for official accreditation. We are now in the final stage of accreditation, but the feedback already received was very positive. And in parallel, the technical partner started to work on the web-based system of the RPEL program, which will support the recognition of prior learning process, because it will allow applicants to submit evidence, to submit supporting documentations related to their experiences and skills. And the web-based platform will also be used as an e-learning platform to host the course, the modules, and to keep track of the progress made by the student in their research projects. And where are we now that the RPEL program has been developed? We are now trying to recruit potential students for the first intake of the program, and we are hoping to launch the pilot in the first semester of 2022, which we will monitor closely to see exactly what we can improve in the future. But I think the discussion that we had will help already a lot. So this gives you a global overview of the project and how it is structured. But I would like to get a bit more into the details of the RPEL program and also of the recognition of prior learning framework. So let's start with the bachelor's program. As I was mentioning, it will be accredited by the Malta Further and Higher Education Authority as a level 6 qualification according to the European qualification framework, and it will grant 180 ECTS. So this will facilitate the recognition of the degree in other European countries and even beyond, and so not only in Malta. The program will be, it's a fully online program. So this is a way, or it was thought as a way, as an easy way for entrepreneurs to do it, to study whenever they have free time. And it will have a full duration of 84 weeks. So there are 3 different stages. The first stage of the program is focusing on recognition of prior learning and experiences. So in this, I will detail more this stage in the next slide, but applicants will be able to validate up to 90 ECTS based on their prior experiences and learning. So that is to say, half of the bachelor's program can be validated through recognition of prior learning. Then the second stage of the program is subject modules. So students will have to select 8 out of 10 modules focusing on different aspects of entrepreneurships, such as business law, finances, ICT, digital marketing, that can complement their expertise. For each module, we will have a self-learning area on the online platform with pre-recorded lectures, but also notes, reading and reference lists, and self-assessment tests. And each module will also have a collaborative areas for tutorials, forum questions, and assignments. So students will be able to exchange together, but also with the partner universities and higher education institutions. And in the final stage, students will carry out a research project based on their own interest, individually, but under supervision or support of a faculty advisor. So after these 3 different stages, the students will have validated the 180 ECTS and the bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship. But I could give you a bit more details about the recognition of prior learning process. So it's a process that, as Jean-Marie was explaining at the beginning, we focus on different types of learning, formal, informal, and non-formal. And the prior work experience also has an importance, because a minimum of 4 years of entrepreneurial work experience in middle management level is required to enter the program. So this will be checked at this stage. And then, well, this is, I will give you an idea of the process, but of course it's much more complex, and guidelines are available if you are interested, for students and for evaluators. So in the first step of the process, applicants are asked to provide information regarding their formal, informal, and non-formal learning and their prior work experience. But at this stage, it's only declarative information. And then based on this information, the system will calculate or will evaluate the number of ECTS that could be validated. So it's a maximum estimate, and everything is done automatically online. But then in the second step, applicants will have to provide supporting documentation for each of the prior learning and experience that they mentioned in the previous step. So as we discussed a bit, it can be quite difficult to provide supporting documentation for some learning. So students or applicants are also guided by the team. But this is the aim of this step, and an evaluator will intervene, a trained evaluator will review the documents uploaded by the applicant and re-evaluate the number of ECTS that could be validated. And then comes the interview. So the applicant will be invited to an interview with the evaluator to reflect, maybe to give more information and to explain about their prior learning and experiences. Again, this phase is very important, and there can be 1 or more interviews depending on how the evaluator evaluates the situation, let's say. And after this step, once again, the evaluator will be able to re-evaluate the number of ECTS that could be validated before the validation step. And in this step, another person will intervene, the evaluator, which is different from the evaluator, will cross-check the results from the 3 first steps and confirm the number of ECTS validated. As I was mentioning, the applicants can validate up to 90 ECTS, half of the credits required to validate the bachelor's degree. And they should validate at least 60 in order to get to the second stage of the program, the subject modules. So now we are in the phase of recruiting potential interested entrepreneurs to enter the first intake of the bachelor's program, and we are going through this first stage of recognition of prior learning with them. So I think we can agree with what was said in the round table, that it's not an easy step. But that's it. So if you are interested, or if you know of any entrepreneur who could be interested in the ARPEL program, I invite you to visit the website that we will share the link with you. And there is also the possibility to contact the team directly if you have questions. But that's it. I don't know if you have questions that I could answer now. I would be happy to try.
Julie, I'm not sure if you have mentioned that this first intake has like a grant and the cost of the bachelor is 0.
Yes, yes, yes. No, you're right. You're completely right. Yes, yes. So yes, we are looking for student. Yeah, Nadia.
Just one question about the format of the study course. Why you have chosen a bachelor degree and not a master of advanced studies that maybe was more suited, in my opinion. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's true, but at the same time, since the recognition of prior learning is very, very important, it's half of the degree. I think, well, we didn't develop the idea of the program ourselves, but I think the idea is to start with a bachelor's degree to validate already existing skills and competencies. But then, of course, you are completely right. Students, or I don't know how to call them, but entrepreneurs who would take part in this program and who would validate a bachelor's degree would, of course, have the possibility to maybe validate their experience further, or maybe to decide to study for a master's themselves. But I think it's just the way to start. Okay. Well, thank you. So if, yeah, I will share with you the link of the website, and if you need any more information, feel free to contact us. Now we had planned a short activity to close the session, so maybe we could start with this. I'm going to to share a link with you and also to share my screen once again. So we wanted to reflect on the concept of entrepreneurship, and more specifically on the I cannot see on the skills and competencies of entrepreneurs. And we would like to invite you to reflect on that. Okay. So as we discussed already, entrepreneurs develop skills throughout their experience, but when they start their business, they also have and need a certain number of skills. And we would like to invite you to reflect on these skills that they may need to start a business, and on the skills that they might develop throughout their career. I am now sending you a link in the chat, so you can open it and open the second slide, and you can directly add. There are some notes already there, but they are only examples, and I'm pretty sure that they could be even moved. So feel free to. If you have anything to add, or any questions or any remarks, feel free also to use the chat or just raise your hand. I see already quite a lot of contributions. The board is getting full. So as a prerequisite to start a business, to start as an entrepreneur, I see that you need time management, resilience, ideas, global vision of social needs, creativity, courage, innovative approach, blue ocean strategy thinking, basic financial literacy. And on the contrary, for the skills you acquire through experience, I can see persistence and resilience also. Yeah, because I guess some skills you should have them, but then you develop them even further. Adaptation, methodology and organization, handling obstacles, organizing life, professional and private, managerial skills, rethinking, business management and planning, communication skills, networking, IT skills. I don't know if any of you would like to comment on what they wrote. And now I guess the big question will be, how can you, I don't know, prove those skills? How can you show that you have all of those skills? But this will be for another discussion.
I think it's quite interesting, all the posts that have been entering into the board, Julie. And there are lots of transversal skills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Robert also sees that transversal skills are really mandatory and useful for an entrepreneur. And sometimes we don't pay so much attention to transversal qualities and abilities. And then I was wondering how these ideas and all these competences or skills would match maybe with the kind of content that the RPL bachelor degree envisages in their list of modules. I don't know if there is no other things to add to this board. Maybe we could have a look to the next board.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because as you were saying, Karma, the next board is a list of skills that was used as part of the RPL project and then in the development of the RPL program. So I think there are a lot more technical skills than transversal skills.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very different from the previous board in this way. But some skills are there also, like the vision and strategic thinking, the resilience, the creativity.
I'm just wondering if the participants, if anybody has strong feelings about any of these modules or ideas, not necessary for entrepreneurs, or if there is anything that they can actually identify that is missing and it would be essential. And I would welcome anybody who would like to talk, or you can put it into the chat if you prefer. So maybe if there is no other comments, maybe we can actually conclude the exercise.
Yes. So I think we will analyze this board very much, and also in relation to the second one. And all the exchanges that we had today will be shared with the team of the ARPEL project, and I'm sure they will benefit them. So thank you very much for your participation, and I could stop sharing maybe. Thank you very much for your participation now in the board and in the activity, but more generally, thank you for your participation today. And special thanks to Robert and Jean-Marie for their presentations and for the roundtable. I think it was very interesting, and personally, I learned a lot. So I'm sure all the team of the project will benefit. We will make the recording available on the eucen YouTube channel, I think, and we will share it with you. And we will also share with you the link of the ARPEL website. And I invite you to contact us if you have any more questions or if you need any more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.